You ever had a moment where your emotions were running the show? Your anger spoke before your logic, your fear made your decisions, or your sadness convinced you to give up? Yeah, we've all been there, but here's the truth: your emotions aren't the problem. The problem is when your mind isn't trained to handle them. You can't stop emotions from showing up, but you can train your mind to stand taller than them. Because the moment your emotions stop controlling you, you start controlling your life. You ever notice how fast emotions can take over? One moment you're fine, the next something small happens and suddenly, boom, your heart's racing, your tone shifts, and you're saying things you don't even mean. That's how quick emotions work. They don't knock before entering, they barge in. And if you're not ready, they'll take control. But here's the thing, between that emotional rush and your reaction, there's a tiny gap. It's small, but it's powerful. That pause right there, that's where your strength begins. Most people think strength is about staying calm no matter what. It's not. Strength is about what you do in the pause. Because the truth is, emotions aren't bad. Anger, frustration, fear, they all exist for a reason. They're signals, not enemies. The problem starts when we don't give our mind enough time to translate the message before we act on the emotion. That's why pausing matters. When you pause, even for a few seconds, you give your brain time to catch up with your heart. Think about it. How many moments in your life could have gone differently if you paused before reacting? A text you shouldn't have sent, a word you wish you could take back, an argument that got louder because nobody stopped to breathe. That's what emotional control looks like in real life. It's not about suppressing how you feel. It's about slowing down long enough to make a better choice. And I get it. Pausing sounds simple, but in the heat of the moment, it feels impossible because your emotions want an immediate response. They want to speak, defend, justify. But when you respond right away, you're letting the emotion be in charge. You're letting it drive. And emotions aren't great drivers. They're impulsive. They're reactive. They don't check the road. Your job is to take back the wheel. That pause is your training ground. It's not about silence. It's about awareness. When something triggers you, instead of reacting, start observing. Notice what's happening in your body. Maybe your chest tightens. Maybe your hands clench. Maybe your breathing gets shallow. That's your emotional alarm system going off. Don't silence it. Just notice it. Because the more you recognize those signals, the faster you can intercept them. And here's a trick: count your pause. Literally, 1, 2, 3. Those 3 seconds can save you hours of regret. They give you a moment to ask yourself, what's really happening here? What do I actually want out of this? Sometimes you'll realize you don't want to fight. You just want to be heard. You don't want to quit. You just want to rest. When you slow down, clarity steps in. The pause also helps you separate people from problems. Maybe someone snaps at you and your instinct is to snap right back. But if you pause, you might notice their anger isn't about you. It's about something else entirely. Maybe they're stressed. Maybe they're hurt. Maybe they just had a bad day. When you react instantly, you join their storm. When you pause, you stay in your own calm, and you'll notice something else too. The more you practice the pause, the shorter your recovery time becomes. You start bouncing back quicker. You stop carrying emotional baggage from one moment into the next, because what used to ruin your whole day starts to lose its grip. That's emotional conditioning. You're training your mind to respond differently each time, and eventually that pause becomes automatic. But let's be honest, it takes practice. You won't master it in a week. You'll slip, you'll react, you'll regret, and that's okay, because awareness isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every time you pause, you're building a stronger foundation. You're showing your emotions that they don't own you. You feel them, you respect them, but you don't obey them. And maybe that's the real power here. Not pretending you're unaffected, but knowing you can feel something deeply and still choose your response. That's emotional maturity. That's strength. The pause doesn't mean you're weak or detached. It means you're grounded enough to lead with clarity instead of chaos. Over time, this small act becomes your superpower. In conversations, in conflict, in decision-making, it changes everything. People notice it too. They'll see your calm and wonder how you do it. They'll get loud and you'll stay steady. They'll react and you'll respond. And that quiet confidence, that's not luck. That's training. That's discipline. because when your emotions rise, you rise higher. When everything around you demands a reaction, you stay composed. And that pause, the one you used to overlook, becomes your greatest display of control. That's where your power begins. You know what most people do when emotions hit? They try to outrun them. They push them down, distract themselves, or pretend they're fine when they're not. But emotions don't disappear just because you ignore them. They wait. They wait until the next argument, the next disappointment, the next quiet night when your mind starts replaying everything. You can't silence emotions by avoiding them. The only way to calm them is to call them out. See, when you're feeling something heavy, anger, sadness, jealousy, fear, your first instinct might be to deny it. You'll say, I'm fine. But your tone, your body language, your silence, they tell a different story. And the truth is, you can't manage what you don't understand. The moment you name what you're feeling, you create distance between you and the emotion. You stop being consumed by it and start observing it. Instead of saying, I'm angry, try saying, I'm feeling anger. It sounds small, but that language shift is massive. It reminds you that you're not the emotion. You're the person experiencing it. And here's why that matters. When you name it, you take your power back. You're no longer reacting blindly. You're identifying what's happening inside you. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. You see the mess, but at least now you know what you're dealing with. That awareness gives you choice. It gives you control. Think of emotions like kids in the backseat of your car. They can scream, cry, or demand attention, but they don't get to grab the steering wheel. Your job is to acknowledge them without letting them drive. So when anger shows up, don't pretend it's not there. Say, okay, anger, I see you. You're here because something feels unfair. When sadness arrives, don't drown in it. Say, I feel sad because I lost something that mattered to me. When you talk to your emotions instead of running from them, you're teaching your brain to regulate instead of react. Most people are afraid that if they admit what they feel, it'll make it worse. But it's the opposite. What you resist persists. What you name loses power, because naming something turns it from chaos into clarity. It moves it from your emotional brain to your rational brain. That's neuroscience. It's how you shift from reacting impulsively to responding intentionally. Let's be real. Sometimes you won't even know what you're feeling at first. You'll just feel heavy or off. That's okay. Start simple. Ask yourself questions. Am I hurt? Am I frustrated? Am I afraid of something? Sit with it until it starts to make sense. You don't need all the answers, just honesty. And honesty with yourself is where emotional strength starts. You can also write it down. Grab your phone, open a note, and describe it. Don't filter it. Don't make it sound nice. Just write what you feel. When you see it in front of you, it becomes more manageable. It's no longer swimming in your head. It's out in the open where you can work with it. And here's another thing. Naming emotions doesn't mean you have to explain them to everyone. This isn't about broadcasting your feelings. It's about understanding them. When you know what you're feeling, you can express it better, set boundaries better, and communicate with clarity instead of confusion. Let's say someone says something that hurts you. Instead of snapping back, you can pause, recognize the sting, and think, I'm not actually mad, I'm hurt. That single realization changes how you respond. You go from attacking to addressing, from defense to dialogue, because when you understand your emotion, you respond with intention instead of reaction. And when you start doing this consistently, you'll notice your emotional storms don't hit as hard. You'll still feel things, but you'll handle them differently. You'll stop feeling out of control, because now when something happens, your first instinct won't be to explode or shut down. It'll be to identify, what am I actually feeling right now? That's emotional maturity in action. And the more you practice this, the faster it becomes second nature. You'll be in the middle of a heated moment and still be able to think clearly. You'll be able to say, I'm frustrated, but I don't need to lash out. Or I'm nervous, but I can still move forward. That's real power. That's your mind leading your emotions instead of the other way around. It's not easy and it's not instant. But over time, you'll start to feel that shift. You'll notice that identifying what you feel doesn't make you weaker. It makes you wiser. It keeps your emotions from controlling your behavior. Because once you can name what's happening inside you, you can start choosing how you respond to the world outside you. That's how you tame what once controlled you. Your emotions are storytellers. They don't just show up and sit quietly. They start narrating. They tell you why something happened, who's to blame, and what it says about you. But here's the problems. Emotions are terrible reporters. They don't care about facts. They care about feelings. They'll exaggerate, assume, and sometimes twist the story completely. When your emotions are in charge of the story, you start reacting to a version of reality that isn't even true. That's why learning to reframe your thoughts is one of the most powerful mental skills you can build. When something hurts, your mind immediately starts writing a script. They disrespected me. I'll never be good enough. Everything always goes wrong. Those sentences sound real because they're loud. But if you pause and look closer, they're just interpretations, not facts. The way you see something determines how you feel about it. That's why two people can go through the same situation and come out with completely different emotions. It's not what happens that defines your state. It's how you interpret what happens. Reframing doesn't mean denying your emotions or pretending everything's fine. It means changing the angle you're looking from. It's about asking better questions. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of thinking, I failed, say, I learned something I couldn't have learned any other way. That simple shift doesn't erase pain, but it gives pain purpose. And when pain has purpose, it loses power. Think of it like wearing tinted glasses. If you wear red lenses, everything looks red. If you wear blue lenses, everything looks blue. The lens doesn't change the world. It changes how you see it. Your mindset works the same way. When you filter life through fear or frustration, everything looks threatening or unfair. But when you filter it through growth, everything, even the hard stuff, starts to look like a lesson. It's easy to fall into emotional storytelling. You get ignored by someone and your mind says, they don't care about me. But what if that's not the truth? What if they're distracted, stressed, or dealing with something you don't know about? The story you tell yourself determines how you treat yourself and others. So before you let an emotion write the ending, question the narrative. Ask, what else could be true here? That one question can save you from hours of unnecessary frustration. And here's what's powerful. The more you reframe, the calmer you become. Because when you start viewing setbacks as lessons, rejection as redirection, and mistakes as teachers, life stops feeling like it's happening to you. It starts feeling like it's happening for you. You stop being a victim of your emotions and start being a student of them. That's when growth becomes your natural response instead of defense. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. Reframing in the middle of emotional chaos takes awareness and discipline. Your brain will want to hold on to the first story because it feels comfortable. It feeds the ego. It justifies the reaction. But comfort doesn't build strength and ego doesn't build peace. The real challenge is catching the story early before it runs wild. You'll start to notice it when you hear words like always and never. I always mess things up. They never listen. Those are emotional exaggerations. They sound final, but they're not facts. Replace them with truth. I made a mistake, but I can fix it. They didn't listen this time, but I can communicate differently next time. It's not about being blindly positive. It's about being a realistically balanced. And let's be honest, sometimes reframing isn't instant. Sometimes you need to feel the emotion first, sit with it, and then shift the story. Because if you rush to reframe without reflection, it becomes avoidance. You can't heal what you won't face. But once you've acknowledged the emotion, reframing becomes a tool to move forward instead of staying stuck. It's what separates reacting from responding. Over time, you'll start doing it automatically. Someone criticizes you, and instead of getting defensive, you'll think, okay, is there truth in this I can use? Something doesn't go your way, and instead of saying, this is unfair, you'll say, maybe this is redirecting me somewhere better. That mindset doesn't make you emotionless. It makes you emotionally intelligent. It's the difference between drowning in your feelings and learning to surf through them. Reframing doesn't change the situation. It changes you. It turns emotional chaos into mental clarity. It shifts you from overthinking to understanding. And when you control the story, you control the emotion that follows. That's how you stop reacting to the story your emotions tell and start rewriting it on your terms. Your mind goes where your attention goes, and your emotions, they follow right behind. If your focus is on what's wrong, what's missing, or what someone said that hurt you, your emotions will feed that thought until it feels 10 times heavier. But if you shift your focus to what you can control, what you've learned, or what's still possible, your emotions begin to calm down. It's not magic. It's management. The difference between being controlled by emotions and controlling them often comes down to one thing, where you aim your attention. You've probably heard the saying, where focus goes, energy flows. It's true. If you keep replaying something that upsets you, your brain doesn't know it's in the past. It relives it. The more you focus on it, the more emotional energy you give it. You start feeling the same frustration, the same anger over and over again. But when you shift your attention to something constructive, even something small, you redirect that energy toward progress. And that's when your mind begins to get stronger than your emotions. Let's say you had a rough conversation with someone. Instead of replaying it 100 times and analyzing every word, ask yourself, what part of this can I learn from? Or what can I do differently next time? That shift doesn't change what happened, but it changes you. You stop feeding the fire and start focusing on growth. That's what emotional discipline looks like in action. It's not about pretending things don't bother you. It's about choosing what deserves your mental energy. Most people waste energy fighting emotions that don't deserve that much power. They'll focus on the problem instead of the lesson, on the pain instead of the progress. And the thing about attention is it amplifies what it touches. Whatever you focus on, you feel more of. If you constantly think about what's wrong, you'll always feel like something's missing. But if you train your focus on what's working, even in small ways, your emotional state starts to align with gratitude instead of frustration. This is something you have to practice daily because your brain has habits just like your body does. If you've trained your mind to focus on negativity, criticism, or fear, that's what it'll keep scanning for. But you can rewire it. You can train your focus through small, intentional choices like gratitude lists, mindful pauses, or redirecting your thoughts the moment they start spiraling. Every time you catch yourself focusing on something unhelpful and shift your attention, you're literally building a stronger mental muscle. And let's be honest, it's not easy to control your focus when emotions are high because emotions demand attention. They want to be felt. They want to be fed. When anger shows up, it says, look at me. When fear shows up, it says, listen to me. And you should, but only long enough to understand what they're trying to tell you. After that, you decide what stays in focus. Acknowledge the emotion, don't entertain it. Hear the message, then move your spotlight to what matters most. Imagine your attention like a flashlight in a dark room. Whatever you shine it on becomes clearer. If you shine it on your worries, they'll look bigger. If you shine it on your goals, they'll start to look possible. You can't control everything that happens in the room, but you can control where your light goes. That's emotional focus. That's training your mind to lead instead of follow. And here's the truth. Disciplining your attention isn't about ignoring your emotions. It's about balancing them. It's choosing to feel something without letting it consume your entire vision. You can feel hurt, but still stay hopeful. You can feel frustrated, but still stay focused. You can acknowledge disappointment and still choose discipline. That's strength. That's emotional maturity in real time. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, this is not where I want my focus right now. It's giving yourself permission to pivot. Maybe you redirect by moving your body, taking a walk, journaling, or simply breathing through the moment. The goal isn't to escape the feeling. It's to keep it from hijacking your attention. Because the more you train your focus, the faster you recover from emotional dips. You stop spiraling for days over things that used to derail you for weeks. That's growth you can feel. And one day, you'll notice it. You'll notice that situations that used to shake you now barely move you. You'll notice your thoughts getting quieter, your reactions getting slower, your choices getting sharper, because your focus has become disciplined. And with it, your emotions have learned to follow your lead. That's when you realize you were never at the mercy of your emotions. You just needed to master your attention. You can't just wake up one day and expect your mind to be stronger than your emotions. It doesn't happen overnight. Just like a muscle, mental strength takes training, consistent, intentional training. You don't go to the gym once and walk out with a six-pack. You build it rep by rep, set by set. The same goes for your emotions. You build emotional strength moment by moment, choice by choice, through the small, quiet decisions no one sees. Most people want emotional control when life gets heavy, but they don't practice it when life is calm. They wait until pressure hits to try to stay composed. But composure isn't built in chaos. It's revealed in chaos. It's built in the moments before it. You train your mind in the everyday frustrations, the driver who cuts you off, the coworker who interrupts, the text that gets under your skin. Those are your reps. That's where the training happens. Every time you choose to pause instead of react, to breathe instead of argue, to respond instead of explode, you're conditioning your mind to lead. Think about how an athlete trains. They don't practice only when the lights are on or the crowd is watching. They practice in silence, doing the same drills over and over again until the right response becomes automatic. That's exactly how emotional control works. You practice self-awareness, self-talk, and patience every single day until it becomes muscle memory, so that when your emotions flare up, your training takes over. And it's not glamorous work. It's uncomfortable. It's frustrating. It's showing up for yourself when it would be easier to give in. It's choosing to reflect instead of react. It's holding yourself accountable for your behavior, even when your emotions try to justify it. It's saying, I can do better, not because someone's watching, but because you know you can. A strong mind doesn't mean a cold heart. It means you feel deeply but act wisely. It means you give yourself permission to feel anger, sadness, or disappointment. But you don't let those emotions write your script. You experience them, you learn from them, and then you move forward with clarity. That kind of balance comes from consistent practice. You can't skip days. You can't expect progress without participation. Sometimes training your mind means having uncomfortable conversations with yourself. It means asking, why did that trigger me so much? Or what story am I telling myself right now? It's catching your emotional habits and challenging them, because emotional strength isn't about control in the sense of suppression. It's about management through understanding. You can't manage what you refuse to confront, and you'll fail at it sometimes. You'll lose your cool, say something you regret, fall back into old habits. That's okay. That's part of training too. You don't quit the gym because one workout was hard. You show up again the next day. The key is not perfection, it's persistence. Emotional growth doesn't come from getting it right every time. It comes from getting it wrong, recognizing it, and trying again with more awareness than before. Another thing you learn with practice is emotional endurance. That's the ability to sit with a feeling without immediately needing to escape it. When you feel anxious, instead of numbing it with distraction, you let it pass through you. When you feel hurt, you don't bury it, you process it. That's mental toughness. Because strength isn't found in how fast you can move past pain. It's found in how well you can face it without falling apart. Over time, you'll notice small wins. You'll start staying calm in situations that used to throw you off. You'll notice you can think clearly even when emotions are loud. You'll bounce back from setbacks faster. Those moments might not feel like much, but they're proof your training is working. You're rewiring your brain to handle pressure with patience. And the best part, once you've trained your mind this way, it starts to protect you. It keeps you from overreacting to temporary feelings. It gives you clarity when your emotions try to cloud your judgment. It helps you pause, think, and choose instead of letting your impulses lead the way. It turns chaos into composure, and that composure becomes your quiet strength.